sort of as somebody that's now been prosecuting cases for 30 years, I have a special place in my heart for our victim service providers around the state. And then it's an important month for us, to bring awareness on what we deal with child abuse and sexual abuse of our children. And knowing it's Victims' Right Week coming up, this is really just my chance to be able to come out and say, number one, thank you for what you do, but also that it is critically important in the role that our victim service providers around the state play, whether it be in child abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault. And so grateful for that. And then to also be able to look at my law enforcement friends and say thank you for what you do as well, because absent their work on the front side, and particularly with regard to child abuse, what the CACs do to assist, then we're not putting the bad guys in jail. And so really, really grateful for that. I'll share a quick story, and I do want to hear who all's here. This sort of was we all have sort of those epiphany moments, right? And things that we do. And I was trying a case involving sexual abuse of a little 11-year-old girl, and she was touched inappropriately by a step-grandfather, told if you tell, you're not going to be able to come see grandmom anymore. And she believed him and said, okay. And she continued to sort of suffer that abuse. And eventually, about a year into it, she goes to a program like y'all do with outreach and learned that was bad touch and not good touch, and eventually tells a school counselor who refers her to the Child Advocacy Center, and sort of everything begins from that. And I meet her, she won't look at me. I'm a guy. I'm part of the sort of the bad side, and you can imagine, at 11 years old, the last thing you want to talk about is your first sexual experience, and that's what we ask kids to do. And so, got really good counseling and had wonderful therapy, and we eventually get to trial about a year and a half later, and she tells her story, and that's why kids are my heroes, because they have to do that in front of 12 total strangers called a jury and get accused of being a liar. And that's what happened with her. And that step-grandfather got up there and testified, and he was a military veteran, accomplished military hero in some respects in Vietnam. And yeah. Grandma was sitting on his side, not the kid's side. The jury convicted him. And so we go back when it was over in a little back room in the courthouse, just me and her. And she looked at me and she said, I want to thank you. I said, you don't have to thank me. It's our job to convict him. And she said, no, I want to thank you for believing in me. And that's when I cried. Only twice in my prosecution career, I cried like a baby with that girl, because when she walked out, I knew that we had collectively, not just me, but collectively, changed her life, because she knew that there were people that believed her, validated what took place, and were willing to stand for her. So that's not unique. That takes place here. And so it takes everybody that's in this room for that to occur. And I've always wondered where she is now. She's probably in her mid-20s from where that's gone on. But hopefully, she still looks back and knows the impact that the folks at the CAC made in her life, the law enforcement made in her life, and knows that we're willing to stand for her. So thank you for y'all's willingness to do that.
We're at Russell County Child Advocacy Center, and we have Alabama's Attorney General, Mr. Steve Marshall. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no, happy to be here.
Thank you for touring the wonderful facility here, and thank you for visiting Russell County and Phenix City.
Oh, look, it's a great opportunity to be able to see some amazing things that they're doing at this facility.
So what is your reaction to this wonderful facility, which is, we've heard in the meeting, an angelic service here in the community?
They have a remarkable facility here, and what they're able to do with forensic interviewing, with counseling for kids, as well as sexual examinations of children to be able to facilitate prosecution. But what I was struck by most is the community support that was here today, whether it be the law enforcement, members of the community, individuals with DHR. The fact that everybody has come together working collaboratively, helping us deal with child abuse, speaks volumes of Russell County and the importance of children to this community.
Absolutely. We appreciate your love and your compassion for what you do. And I love how you all recognize Mr. Ken Davis for his longevity service.
Yeah, Ken's been a tremendous leader in the prosecution circles, not only in Alabama, but across the country. You know, his longevity in and of itself doesn't speak to the value that he brings, but I mean, he has a great passion and a desire to bring justice in the community, and his service is something that will be legendary as we move forward.
Absolutely. So, Attorney General, before we let you go, what would you like to share with the community as we can help more collaborative with our organizations and services here to better serve our children?
I think broadly this is a month where we try to bring awareness to child abuse in our communities, and the reality is, just like it exists in Russell County, it exists all across our state. And the question becomes, what's going to be our response and what are we going to do? You know, there's tremendous service going on here at your Child Advocacy Center to be able to combat this problem. And what I'm struck by is the commitment that law enforcement has, that other social service partners have in being able to address this issue. And the question is going to be, is the community going to be able to stand behind them in what they do? And so my hope is that not only coming here today raises awareness to what's going on in this community, but let's also recognize this is a problem that we have to deal with. And it's not just law enforcement's problem. It's one for the community to be able to come behind and to be able to address. And I think you're making great strides here in this community.
Thank you. We are so honored with you coming here.
Well, thank you very much. It's
God
great to
bless
be
you.
here.
Thank you. You're watching here on Beam TV.
This group down here, if you don't know what all these people have to listen to and deal with all the time, it's amazing the services that they provide to this community. A lot of people don't know how bad things are out there and what our kids go through, and these are the people that deal with them first. And I appreciate all of you, all your roles that y'all have in this that helps us get to the point prosecuting somebody. Thank you. Of all those we prosecute, though, y'all help a lot more than the ones we actually get to prosecute those cases, because you know a lot of them never make them to prosecution for whatever reason. But I certainly appreciate what y'all do down here, and I know Kenny Davis has been a big supporter of this over the years, and appreciates all of you as well. And thank you for coming down.
Congratulations. I know
Yes.
Kenny hung around just so that you could make sure you were the one, so that says a lot about you.
Well, we'll see.
Hey, I'll be watching.
I'm afraid so.
Well, anyway, I'm Ray Smith, Phenix City Police Chief. I've been a juvenile investigator since this center started, and I was probably the reason my poor interview skills was the reason that this was started, because I was not very successful. And obviously, I'm a big supporter now of it because I saw the mistakes that I made as a young investigator, and it certainly helped. It takes a lot off of law enforcement and helps so much better interviews and so much better evidence collection when you allow professionals that are in that business to do it. So we appreciate the work CAC does.
Chief, by the way, I know we got together after the loss for the department. I do think that there was a statute that may have passed the legislature to deal with COVID and law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
I think it may be more, not necessarily line of duty death, but also just those that have suffered potentially down the road. Maybe something we want to pay attention to. But thank you.
Thank you.
Sergeant Alfonso Smith. I'm with the Russell County Sheriff's Office. And we primarily have two investigators that handle our child cases, which is Investigator Jones and Investigator Preacher.
You want me to go? Thanks for the introduction. I'm Investigator Pritchard. Like you said, myself and Billy are general investigators, but we do primarily work a lot of juvenile stuff. And I would say on all of our cases, our unit, everybody has their role. Whether myself or Billy's over it, everyone may play a role in it. So it's really cool working with everybody between DHR, CAC, and anyone else I'm leaving out for us to thoroughly investigate. Everybody's got to assess, okay, well, what can we do as our part to make this come together? So.
And don't let her 5 foot. But we got Billy over here on the other side, and then we've got Chris that are like this. But she's as bad as any of the rest of them. Yeah. I think she intimidates the guys when she has to interview, so we like having them on our side.
It's Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we're here at Russell County Child Advocacy Center. And the ladies that serve behind the scene, we would love for them to introduce their name and their roles that they play here. So we'll start with you.
I'm Danielle Rapinki. I am a forensic interviewer and a prevention specialist here at the center.
Wow.
My name is Nikki Lopez. I am the victim and family advocate here at the center.
And I'm Deetra Rosser, and I'm also a prevention specialist and forensic interviewer here at the center.
Wow. I think it's a blessing that you all are helping the community to kind of get awareness of the services that are provided here. As a community, we want to be able to help you all collectively. What more can we as a community or the citizens in the community do to help serve the children in our community? What more can we do to help you?
Well, I guess the big thing here is bringing awareness, and a lot of people don't know that these things are going on with our children, and just come visit. Come visit our center. Our door is open, and you can come and visit our center, and we'll inform you on the things to look for. Danielle and I play the role of prevention specialists. So we're in the school systems, and we are talking to children and making them aware of these things that are going on, because some children don't know that they're being abused. So if you could just come and visit us and talk with us, and we'll help you to gain knowledge of these things that are going on with our children.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that, because many probably didn't know that you all are in the schools. And the doors are open here for the community to visit. This is amazing. It is really an angelic service right here in the heart of our community. And we just want to thank you for your love for our children as well. Now, are you open to share this knowledge with community organizations?
Absolutely.
Here in the community?
Absolutely. I know when I first started here, Lynn and I, our director, would go to Head Start programs and talk to parents about these things. We go into church communities, and we talk to church members about these things, and so we do go in out into the community and talk about what we do here at the center.
I am so glad you shared that, because that's what we want to share with the community. The services are here. The resources are here. We want to bring awareness in every area in our community. So churches, you can have this resource as well, because our children go to church as well, in children's church, daycares. These are the things that we need to be aware of what's happening in our community. And we want to say we salute you all for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching here on Beam TV.
Through the hard work and request of some people that are a part of our team and talking with Beam, which is our local cable company, we, as of Thursday, now have cable in our building, and we can pull up email, so we're excited. And it was a lot of hard work, and we know it's not going to filter down the industrial park. We're the only ones, but it's going to make a difference for us. It's the little things that people don't realize that make all the difference. So.
Okay. One quick question, and by the way, thank you for the investment you make. Who would steal from a CAC too, by the way? I mean, it's just like, holy cow. But one of the things that, at least in visiting centers, and I've been to a bunch here recently, is COVID's impact has been felt not only sort of in increased numbers now that we're coming out of it, but on the fundraising side, because a lot of our CACs do event-based fundraising as opposed to some other ways of doing it. Is it true for y'all here as well that some events got shut down for a while, or have y'all been able to maintain the fundraising side?
We were shut down for a year and a half. We did not have our golf tournament, and our father-daughter dance that we would typically have in February has actually not occurred for 2 years. But our golf tournament, we started back up last year and had a great, for us again, being in such a small community, raise between we raised $30,000 to $35,000 off the golf tournament. We're doing really well. But as I told you when we were outside, it's this group of people talking to other people that it's our community support that makes all the difference. When a deck is 5 months behind and we haven't gotten our check, we don't worry about that. I can still pay staff. I can still pay the bills because I have an investment by the board, and we're frugal with our money. We don't spend if we don't have to. As Greg says, I have no shame in my game, and Philip knows it as well. I'll ask for anything. All you can do is tell me no. But that's what you have to do as a nonprofit, and I feel like these kids are worth making a fool of myself sometimes, and that's okay.
Well, I've always heard you have no in your pocket at all times, so if you just ask, it
That's
just
right.
it makes it improve.
That's right.
Now, one thing I think is positive, and this is credit to the state leadership, is that we saw an increase in funding across the network with our legislature. So say a thanks to your representatives down here and being able to make that happen. And the ADECA story is difficult, say this particularly for the board, is that we've heard about that delay in reimbursements coming in. Hopefully that is going to get better, and they've gone to that new online system, which has not necessarily been as easy to implement as maybe everybody hoped. But anyway, that's been fairly universal, what I've heard. And then it takes special people in a special place. And I thank all of the board members themselves, because it sounds like you know who the boss is, number one, but it's absent, a cross-section of this community that believes in the mission, because the reality is that child advocacy centers are the worst cheerleaders for themselves. I mean, there's an element of confidentiality that goes along with this business that maybe mitigates against being able to champion what you do, and absent the board themselves being able to share that story, it just doesn't get out there. I mean, there's a lot of great nonprofits. What y'all are doing over for your victims is critically important, and there's a lot of good charitable organizations out there trying to help community. But my gosh, if we can't invest in our kids that have been harmed, then where are we as a community? And so really appreciate y'all doing all that. Is that what I was supposed to say?
Perfect.
Any messages for me that you need to take back? Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
But
you can ask her.
anything else that y'all want to make sure that I know? Y'all, getting out of Montgomery is a blessing, so thank you for letting me do that. And by the way, we are going to honor Ken in Montgomery, not only for the gravity of what he's done over his career, but just to be able to tell him a special thanks. And y'all, by the way, it tells you about your DA when he's more worried about trying cases than he is coming and seeing the AG. That's where he needs to be. So.
BSO, Brooke Elston is ours, comes down here mostly when we have children interviewed as a liaison from our office. Connection with that. The good news is from there, the legislature this year gave us funding for that position. It's going to help us keep our victim service officers in place. So we do appreciate our legislators on that, and all the help we got in Montgomery on there. Usually we're fighting for things, and that was a good thing that we got out of it, that we can keep our presence in this office through our victim service officers. So that is something good out of Montgomery that came this year from a funding standpoint, and we can keep our position that can help keep us connected with this office and the needs of this office and the victims.
We were able to give the DAs around the state $1.5 million for that purpose out of the opioid settlements.
Yeah,
so
that's been great.
Felt like that was important. The fact that I date a victim service officer has no impact on that, by the way, whatsoever. But no, what y'all do is through that is critically. And I know y'all have got your own advocate for victims that deals a lot with the DA's office and the victim service side as well. So they're well represented on that front.
The last thing I just want to share is our numbers for this year. If we looked at our numbers last year, statistically, we served, right at the beginning of COVID, 183 kids for interviews. Last year, we dropped to 100. Could not figure out what that difference was, why the drop was there. Then as we started talking, we realized that our prevention specialists were not allowed in the school system that year. So you were not giving the information to the kids for them to realize, oh, that's what this is. This year, 6 months in, at the end of March, we are 16 short of where we were the entire year last year. So our numbers are going back up and through the roof again. So,
we saw this a little bit of the impact of remote learning and kids in disclosure. As many times the counselors and teachers were the ones, and the fact that we had so much remote learning going on, they just didn't have that exposure. And being cooped up with a perk, more so than they were in the past. So.
We all thank you for taking the time to come. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Street Talk with Loretta Rose on location in Phenix City here on Beam TV. We're going to close out today's show with the Executive Director, Lynn Hammock, here at Russell County Child Advocacy Center. Lynn, my tour and visit is overdue. I have been tremendously blessed. Beautiful, wonderful outcome today.
Yes, it was.
It is Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Right.
What a better time. It couldn't be a better time to have this today. How do you feel about the outcome? And Attorney General
It was,
Steve?
you know, their office called and said that the Attorney General was wanting to visit all of the child advocacy centers in the state. And it was part of the awareness and prevention month. And we were like, okay, what day? And we put it on the calendar, and from that point, we just started making sure that we were getting in contact with our key people. And it says a lot when your chief and your investigators and your DA and all of these people that are department heads or work as a part of our team, and my board of directors, I can't say enough about them. We have 12 board members, and we had 6 of them here today in the middle of their day. That just know what we do and are committed to supporting what we do. And we're here. I didn't have to make but one request, and they were all here. So.
Wow. And I believe I read this is your 25th year
Yes,
of
in November.
service.
Yeah, November will be 25 years.
25 years.
Yes, I've been here 20. Yeah,
And you all have been implanted here in Russell County.
yeah.
Wow. Lynn, tell us a little bit more about the services you all provide here.
Okay, and really from the beginning, when a child makes an allegation of abuse, and most of the calls that we get are going to be because a mandated reporter made that call to DHR or law enforcement. So that's typically school personnel, because that tends to be where kids disclose. And they call us, DHR or law enforcement, and we do what we call the forensic interviews of those children. That's where we do the fact finding. And I have 2 trained professionals that do those interviews, Danielle and Deetra. And they are wonderful at what they do. They know what they can ask. They know what they can't ask, so that they're not leading a child during an interview, so that a defense attorney can turn around and say, you've led that child to answer those questions. So we're very mindful of making sure that we do everything consistently every time. From there, we offer them our other services. If a child has been involved in a sexual assault, we have a sexual assault nurse examiner that is on contract with us. She comes to our facility. We're only one of 5 centers that actually have a medical room in our facility. And that speaks volumes of little Phenix City, Russell County, that we have that available here. So we're very proud of that. So the child can have that exam done here. That is then forwarded, the reports forwarded to the team. We offer counseling, and the biggest part of all of this is that it doesn't cost our families a dime. That's why we work so hard at fundraising and contributions and grant writing, is because we don't want a family who's going through this experience to have to worry about how they're going to pay for service. And for the professional services that are provided, it would be $100 an hour easily for counseling. So even if you had insurance, most insurance companies will only pay up to 10 sessions. 10 sessions are just enough to get a child started talking about some of the horrific things that they tell. So our victim advocate then works with that family on any referrals that need to be made to ensure that they get the services they need, whether it's a grandmother who needs some help in getting transportation. If it's a mom or dad, if the offender is the breadwinner in the home and they're trying to figure out how they're going to make ends meet, then she kind of guides them in the direction of making referrals to the appropriate programs that can assist her. We testify in court on behalf of the child, again, of no cost to those that we serve. Counseling doesn't matter how long they're in counseling. We've had kids that were in counseling a year. We've had kids that have been in counseling 2 years. It all depends on, every child is individual.
Child is different.
And what we find is when it gets closer to trial time, those kids start acting out a little bit more and they start getting anxious. We tell them, our doors are never closed. You come right back. We'll help you through that process, get you prepared for court. And they do. We've actually had kids that come in at 15, 16, and then as an adult, call us and say, I'm having problems in being able to separate my personal relationships from the abuse that occurred. Can I come back in? We say, we told you, our doors never close. So they come back in and see us. So it's an amazing process to watch, and we're really humbled and grateful that we get to be a part of helping children be kids again.
Wow.
And as we discussed with the Attorney General when we were in the room, we have a prevention program that is school-based. Aaron's Law passed in 2015, which mandated all school systems to provide sex abuse prevention education in the school systems to every student. We were already doing that back in 2005. We saw that there was a need, and we started that program. So we reached from kindergarten up through high school at 4 different times in their life, and we develop with their age and teach them about abuse, because for some of these kids, they don't know what's happening to them as abuse until they hear it, and that's how a disclosure comes out. And then our third program is where we work with children who have problematic sexual behaviors, and those kids are referred to us from juvenile probation. And we have a certified therapist that works with those kids, and it has a 98% success rate. Wonderful. On average nationally, if you have a 60% success rate, which means that these kids do not have any other acting out behaviors, nor do they have any contact with the law during the time, up to 5 years after they've been exited from the program. So we're very proud of that as well. So 3 programs under our umbrella.
Awesome. We are just so proud of the service. I look at more of a ministry here in the community. I love it, and we need to support them more. So with your fundraisers, and so that the community can keep up with what's happening, how can they follow you on social media or your website? We want them to be in touch.
Our website, it actually kind of gives a rundown, and we actually have a video where a young lady who was a victim actually came back and spoke in this video. And it's very impactful, and even to this day, if I watch it after a couple of years since she actually did it, I'm actually touched by it, and I'll go to tears when I watch it and listen to her, because she grew so much, and now as a mother, it's really impactful. But they can go to www.rccac.org, just the initials for Russell County Child Advocacy Center. We do have a Facebook page, and unfortunately, it's not as up to date as it needs to be. But that's because we've just been overwhelmed the last few months with cases, and have not really been able to focus on the marketing side of it or the awareness side of it, because we're doing the hands-on, and we have a very small staff, and our kids come first.
Wow,
so,
absolutely. And we see the fruitfulness of what you're doing. You have a contact number if someone wanted to reach out, needed a grandparent or someone needed help.
That's right. It's 334-297-4962. Wow. And our phones are on. You will not get an answering service unless it's after hours. And even with that, it'll tell you a number that you can contact if it's an emergency and you feel like you need someone to talk to. So.
Wow. Well, thank you for opening the doors here for the community to come in, for Beam TV to come in, and just as one of your staff members said, the doors are always open if we wanted to tour. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you for being here. We sure do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This is what's happening in Phenix City. We need to support them. Russell County Child Advocacy Center, right here in Phenix City in Russell County. You've been watching Beam TV here on your cable network. I'm Loretta Rose, and until next time, you be blessed.